I learned the hard way that the fastest way to get the police at your door isn't crime, it's entitlement. Because one winter morning, an HOA president stood on my porch, dialed 911, and tried to paint me as the villain for refusing to plow her neighborhood for free. And by the time it was over, she didn't just lose the argument, she lost her position. My name's Owen, and I run a small snow removal business up in northern Michigan. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest long nights, heavy storms, back-to-back jobs, and customers who actually pay for what they ask for. That detail matters because the whole mess started with someone who thought payment was optional. A few years earlier, I bought a 2-acre place outside Traverse City. Old maple trees, a simple house, and most importantly, it was outside any homeowners association. I did that on purpose. I'd seen what HOAs can turn into. Petty rules, power trips, people treating board member like it's a government title. So before I signed anything, I checked the deed, checked the property lines, even had a lawyer look it over. Clean ownership, no shared roads, no easements tying me to the development next door. Then Pinewood Estates showed up. New construction, perfect lawns, and a shiny new HOA with a president who clearly enjoyed the sound of her own authority. They tried to rope me in once when they broke ground, and I shut it down immediately with paperwork. For a while it stayed quiet. Then winter hit hard. One night we got slammed with snow, thick, heavy, the kind that turns driveways into concrete if you wait too long. I was out working for 18 straight hours, bouncing from one paying client to the next, running on coffee and muscle memory. By the time I finally pulled into my own driveway, my hands were numb, my shoulders were screaming, and all I wanted was a shower and sleep. I hadn't even killed the engine before I saw someone marching across my yard. Purple puffer jacket boots sinking into the snow face, pinched like she was already mid-complaint. Patricia Hendress. She didn't wave. She didn't ask if I had a minute. She stopped right in front of me and said, "We need to talk. Immediately." "I'm exhausted," I told her, stepping down from the truck. "Can it wait?" "No," she said like the word was a law. "I'm Patricia Hendress, president of the Pinewood Estates HOA, and we have a serious problem." Her serious problem was that their entrance and community parking lot hadn't been plowed. Residents were stuck, and she decided somehow that my plow meant I was responsible. She pointed at my truck like she'd caught me in some kind of moral failure. "You're a snow removal contractor," she said. "You have the equipment. You need to clear our lot." "Not would you? Not how much, just you need to." I told her the truth. I had paying clients, I'd been working since the day before, and I wasn't part of her homeowners association. She tried switching gears, pulling the community card, talking about neighbors helping neighbors. Still no mention of money. So I made it simple. "If you want to hire me," I said, "my emergency rate is $250 an hour, 3-hour minimum." Her face actually changed colors. "$250, she snapped. "That's ridiculous." "That's my rate," I said. "Take it or leave it." That's when the threats started. She accused me of price gouging. She started talking about liability, about people getting hurt, like she was preparing a lawsuit in her head. I didn't argue the way she wanted me to. I just said, "Good Samaritan laws don't force contractors to work for free. I'm not your volunteer." Then I walked inside. I thought that would be the end of it. But Patricia doesn't do endings, she does escalation. I had barely fallen asleep when my doorbell went off like it was trying to break the record. I opened the door in sweatpants, hair a mess, still half asleep, and there she was again. This time she brought 2 board members with her, like backup would magically change my pricing. One of them smiled in that tight, fake way people do when they're about to insult you politely. "We talked," he said, "and we can offer you $100. $100 doesn't cover the fuel," I said. Patricia's smile disappeared. "You're being selfish." Then came the whole routine guilt accusations, moral lectures. They called me heartless. They hinted they could report my business. They said any decent person would help. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a fit. I just said no and shut the door. After that, I tried to get back to sleep. I didn't, though, because now the problem wasn't snow. It was the fact that someone next door had decided I was a resource she could claim. 2 hours later, she came back alone. And this time, she didn't even try to negotiate. She held up her phone and said, "Last chance. Either you plow for free or I'm calling the police." I stared at her for a second, waiting for the punchline. There wasn't one. She was dead serious. "For refusing unpaid work," I said. "For endangering the community," she replied like she'd practiced that sentence in a mirror. Then she dialed 911 on my porch. I stood there listening to her do it, giving my address, describing me like I was some kind of threat, talking about trapped residents and danger and urgency. And I could actually hear the dispatcher through her phone, calm but sharp. "Ma'am," the dispatcher said, "you can't force a private contractor to work for free. If you have a real emergency, call emergency services for that emergency. Do not call 911 to pressure someone into unpaid labor." I watched Patricia's face drop as if someone pulled the plug. She tried to talk over the dispatcher, but it didn't work. She ended the call and walked away without another word, leaving her own footprint stamped into the snow like proof of how far she'd gone. Word spreads fast in winter towns. By the next day, people were texting, laughing, shaking their heads. I even got a call from a guy I knew who lived in Pinewood Estates, and he was wheezing into the phone. "She called 911 on you," he said, "for not plowing our lot?" "Yep," I said. He laughed so hard he had to stop and breathe. I figured she'd be embarrassed enough to stop. I should have known better. Patricia's next move wasn't to apologize. It was to attack my property. A few days later, a surveyor showed up near my driveway, and Patricia was right behind him, arms folded, looking smug. She claimed my driveway crossed into HOA land. She claimed my mailbox was on their side. She claimed the road belonged to the community. I didn't debate her. I went inside, grabbed my folder, the one I keep because I'm not new to this kind of nonsense, and I came back with 2 surveys. One from when I bought the place, and one updated when the development started. The surveyor took one look and said, "You're inside your boundary." Patricia tried to argue anyway, like she could talk geometry into changing. The surveyor packed up his equipment and left, and for the first time she looked rattled. That should have been her hint to stop. Instead, she doubled down. Then the city complaints started. One week it was my business license. Next week it was where I parked my truck. Then it was noise. Then it was commercial activity. Then it was something new every time. Code enforcement showed up, uncomfortable clipboard in hand. I walked him through permits, approvals, everything. He checked it, nodded, and told me quietly, "You'd be surprised how often HOAs try to bully neighbors outside their control." I kept documenting. Dates, times, emails, camera clips. Every interaction got logged. Because Patricia's final escalation wasn't paperwork, it was a lie. One afternoon I get a knock. 2 officers. Patricia had called again, claiming I assaulted her, that I grabbed her arm during some argument on the street. The problem for her was simple. I had security cameras, and that day my cameras showed my driveway empty. No Patricia, no confrontation, nothing. I also had proof I was on a video call when she claimed it happened. So when the officers watched the footage, the entire story collapsed in real time. They didn't just dismiss it, they took it seriously, because filing a false report isn't a mistake, it's an offense. Patricia's confidence finally cracked. The officers stepped away, made calls, asked questions, and when they came back, their tone was different. No sympathy, no patience. She tried to backpedal, tried to soften it, tried to pretend she'd misunderstood. But the facts didn't bend. By the end of that week, Pinewood Estates held an emergency board meeting. Patricia was removed as president. The city stopped entertaining her complaints. And the police made it very clear that if she tried another stunt like that, she'd be dealing with consequences that weren't just embarrassment. A new HOA president sent me a letter. Short, careful, apologetic. It confirmed what I'd been saying the whole time my property was mine. I had no obligation to the HOA, and what happened shouldn't have happened. That's where it ended. No party, no neighborhood redemption arc, no victory speech, just a quiet porch, fresh snow, and the kind of silence you only notice after months of constant pressure. And the lesson is simple. Never let someone confuse their authority with your obligation.